Hi, welcome to Catching Up with Kim. It's been a really long time since we posted a video, and ideally Jonna would be here with me, but with our schedules we just couldn't make it work. So this is the only video that we will air in July, and we have already filmed episode 20 because tomorrow I leave for Canada for a week, so I had to edit it before I left. So that's already in the can, ready to go. But I just wanted to film a Catching Up with Kim video to tell you about all the things we've been doing and just let you know what's been going on before episode 20 airs. I have a lot of notes. Hopefully this won't be too long. And I will talk about what I'm knitting at the end. So I'm going to talk about today my trip to Italy, the mYak retreat in Italy. That's going to be the big chunk of this video. And then I'm going to talk about meeting a viewer at Pick Up Every Stitch recently, and then just a couple more things. So, and then my knitting. So anyway, let's get right to it. I got to go to Italy for the mYak retreat in June. And oh, by the way, I hope the sun isn't bothering you because I just wanted to film outside. And you can see my daughter's dog walking around back there. That's Kobe. And my bird bath fountain is making noise. I hope that doesn't bother you. But it's hot outside today, but I just wanted to be outside. So anyway, that's where I am, on my deck in my backyard. Anyway, so I was so blessed to be able to go to Italy on the mYak retreat. I have never been on a retreat before, a knitting retreat. And I got to bring my husband, and I have to say, and I mentioned this in episode 20, it was expensive. It was. The retreat itself actually wasn't that expensive, but the flights almost cost the same amount as the retreat, so that was expensive. But it was a splurge. As all of you, many of you know, my husband has been having health issues, and so we just wanted to do this splurge because he might have some really big procedures going on next year, and he just really wanted to enjoy this year. So we splurged a little bit, and we're scrimping and saving elsewhere. But I have to say, if you ever have a chance to go on a mYak retreat, save your money and go. It's worth every penny. And they didn't pay me. I paid all my own way to go. I paid for my husband. They didn't pay us for anything. You know, so this is not a paid promotion. It was just a once-in-a-lifetime amazing adventure that we don't regret going on at all. We don't regret any penny that we spent on it. So it was in June. I can't even remember the date it started at this point. It seems so long ago. But the retreat ran from Sunday through Thursday. But my husband, with his epilepsy, he needs to get his sleep. And so with the time difference and losing a whole night of sleep flying over there, we decided to fly in early so that he would be able to rest before the retreat started. So we got there, we left on a Thursday and got there Friday. And it just so happened I had been communicating with Paula of mYak, and she was arriving the same day. So we rented a car and we drove up to Cavallese with Paula. And I think I've mentioned this before. I love to drive stick shift, and I used to live in Europe. So I took the advantage of renting a car in Italy and renting a stick shift. And I have to say I was a little bit nervous. I don't speak Italian, but Paola was there, so she could read all the signs to us. But we left the Milan airport and drove to Cavallese. And I can't remember how long the trip is supposed to be, but it took way longer. Because when you basically drive east from Milan, and when you get to Verona, you turn left and drive north up into the Dolomites. And when we got around Trento or Trentino, it was like a parking lot on the highway. It was ridiculous. I thought I was in New York City. We never ever really figured out why. We thought maybe there was some car accidents, but we never saw any evidence of them. It was just really bizarre, but at least we had good company. We all get along really well. So we just we just were able to like enjoy the car ride. One crazy thing that happened though was when I rented the car, I rented a GPS. And so we put the GPS up and we started driving, and it kept making this, well, we didn't know if it was the car or the GPS, kept making this crazy sound, this weird clanging sound, like 3 loud clangs, just completely randomly. We couldn't figure out why. So, we were worried, is something wrong with the car? It was really actually kind of scary. So eventually Paula called the car rental company, and they're like, well, it doesn't sound like normal. Can you come back? But we were already so far along in our trip, we decided not to. Anyway, so when we get on the local roads, Paula, when we finally turn off to climb up the mountain, and it's up in the mountain, so the switchbacks, the back and forth, weaving up the mountain, and I have to say, I drove like a trooper. Paula was a little impressed, I have to say. When we were driving up those roads, Paula said, be careful. See those orange boxes on the side of the road every once in a while? Those are speed cameras. And what we finally realized is the clanging noise was the GPS warning us about the speed cameras. So I don't know if I got tickets before we realized that. But anyway, I probably wasn't speeding because the speed limit is crazy and I was very cautious. But anyway, so it was funny when we finally realized what it was. It was definitely a relief. And then we were grateful for the loud clanging noise. Anyway, so we wove our way up the mountain, and to get there, we actually drove through Sud Tirol, or South Tyrol, which is an independent area of Italy where they still speak German. So that was so fun to see all the German signs, really just for a few minutes until we got back into the Italian-speaking part. That was really fun. But we got there in time for dinner, and it was so fun. And I mentioned this also in episode 20, but the knitwear designer that I've talked about in the past, Marina Storm, she lives in Germany now. She's by birth Greek, and she also lived in Spain for a long time. So she speaks many languages, and she's the designer who designed the Encanto shawl that I wore at Vogue Knit Live, and she had sent it here for me to wear for Vogue Knit Live in New York City. And I needed to return it to her, and I was talking about mailing it, this spring, and then I mentioned to her, well, I'm going to be in Northern Italy, and I knew she lived in Germany, and coincidentally, she and her husband like to vacation in that area, and it was their vacation week. So when she found out, I told her exactly the hotel we were going to be in, and that we were arriving early. She and her husband got a room in the hotel where the retreat was. Now, they left before the retreat started, but so when we literally drove in the parking lot, she was waiting outside for us. So she helped us carry our bags in, and it was just lovely to see her in person. And she's way more beautiful and amazing and energetic and just lovely in person than just from a picture or texting or messaging. So Marina, it was so lovely to see you. And we had arranged to go out to dinner that night, me and my husband and Marina and her husband. So we went to a pizza place up the street. I'll tell you a little more. It's coincidentally the same pizza place we went to the last night of the retreat. But we went there, walking up the cobblestone streets of Cavallese, and it was amazing. Oh, by the way, when we do these catching up videos, I don't do a lot of editing at all. So at the very end of the video, there will be like a slideshow of many of the pictures and things that we did, especially of the retreat. Anyway, so we went and had pizza. It was really wonderful. And then the next day, Saturday, was Worldwide Knit in Public Day. So Marina and I sat on the back deck of the hotel, and I was wearing the Encanto, and we were knitting. We knit together for a while. It was really fun. And her husband and my husband went for a walk in Cavallese. Then they had to leave, and, Saturday night was a quiet night. Oh, actually, I think those of us who had arrived early, some of us for the retreat, went and grabbed a quick dinner. So that was fun. And then Sunday happened, and it was a relaxing morning, but I couldn't wait for the retreat participants to start arriving, especially Joji Locatelli. I was really excited about that. I've never met her before. But the very first participant that I met was Tracy, and she's just so lovely. She plays the ukulele, and she brought it with her, and she played for us a little bit, and it was just amazing. I mean, by the way, I didn't mention Cavalese is actually Paola's hometown. She was born and raised there. And the hotel we stayed at was the Park Hotel Azalea. And it was, for Paola's entire life, owned by Paola's best friend's family. Her best friend is Manuela from childhood. They've known each other since they were 4 or 5, I think. And when Paola used to work as a young woman to raise money to go do her community service in Tibet, she would work at this hotel for her friend's family. So another just crazy coincidence, we stayed in that hotel, and Manuela had just sold it to another lovely family. So Owana is the new owner, and they were both there for the entire retreat. So that was really wonderful. The hotel is a wellness hotel, and it's in the Val di Fiemme, which is a very, very famous ski area. And it's what do they say? It's, you know, they have a full restaurant there. You can have breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and it's vegan. I had read that it was plant-based, but it really is really vegan. Paola had requested for the retreat breakfast that we could have some meats and cheeses, but all the other meals were vegan, and I am not vegan, and my husband we're meat eaters, but we loved every meal. We could not believe the flavor. I mean, the chef, just his creativity, it was amazing. I mean, it was absolutely amazing. We did not miss meat at all. So if you want to go on an amazing wellness retreat, definitely check out the Park Hotel Azalea in Cavalese. So as the day continued, more and more knitters arrived, and the first thing we did was a welcome reception, and that was really fun. So that was when I got to meet Hohi, and she brought her son Nano with her, and it was just so fun to get to know him as well. I mean, they're just lovely, as many of you have already met Hohi, I'm sure, but it was just really amazing. Also there was, of course, Paola and Andrea, the other owner of mYak. He is either in Italy, where he lives, or he's in Tibet working with the local Tibetan people there with the yarn, and he's a veterinarian, so he helps them with many things. And then Carlotta was also there, and she's kind of the Italian fashion end of mYak. So all three of them were there for the entire retreat, and that isn't typical. Typically, Andrea is in Tibet and isn't able to help, but it was really wonderful to see all of them. As for the knitters, I mean, I could just run through the list, but Isabel was there, and Skip, her husband, was my husband's bestie on the trip. There was Sarah, Cindy, Juliana, Patricia, Anya, Ewan, Maria, Jackie, Erica, Alexandra, Yvonne, Monica, Chris and her husband Mark, Doris and her husband Christoph, and their dog Stella. She was adorable. She's a Westie. Daniela, Natalia and her husband David, and also Nara was there of Knit Nara Knits, and now she has a new Instagram called Knit Leaks, and I think it's a YouTube channel too. She actually interviewed me, this funny little interview she did, asking me something nobody else knows, and honestly, I tell you guys everything, so I couldn't think of anything. So I told her something that you might know, but you probably forgot. Anyway, you can see that on her YouTube channel. Knit Leaks, Knitleaks. Anyway, also there was Gabby, who owns a yarn shop in Switzerland called Yarn Shop Lugano, and she's just sweet, sweet, sweet. So hi, Gabby. Hi, everyone. It was just so fun. I just loved every second of meeting all of you and knitting together and learning together and hiking together and eating together. It was really fun. So Sunday we had the welcome reception, and Paola handed out swag bags for everybody. Now I don't have all the items here because I've gifted many of them. I gave some of them to Jonna, but I have a few things here. Inside the swag bag was a few balls of mYak Baby Camel. And I actually gave those to Jonna. So I can't wait to see what she makes with them. And then the husbands got swag bags too, but they don't, we assumed they didn't want yarn. So they gave them a bottle of wine, a local wine from the region. So my husband was very grateful for that. And also we had a bunch of products from the company Herbs of the Alps, and you'll hear more about that in a minute. But we got a bottle of Dolomite salt. And let's see what else is here. I covered it all up with stuff. Do I even have, a soap from Herbs of the Alps. And we also got, let me see what's on my list. Also a box of tea, which I also gave to Jonna. And I think that's it. But it was a lovely swag bag, so that was really fun. And then we had dinner at the hotel. And then the next day was Monday. So in the retreat, arrival day Sunday, departure day Thursday. So really the meat and potatoes of the retreat is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So every afternoon from 3 to 6 was the knitting portion, the organized Hohi Locatelli knitting portion. But in the mornings, there were other activities. And the retreat is all inclusive. Once you get there, you don't pay for food. You don't pay for activities. Everything is planned. All these just amazing, amazing, amazing activities. And so Monday, there was 2 options. You could either do, here's the schedule they handed out. Here's the card. And on the back is the entire schedule. So it was a walk in Cavallese, like a wellness walk with Andrea, or what they called it, a soap workshop at a local farm. We really just got there. The soap was made and Paola got to cut it into pieces and we got to take a piece of the soap home. Here's my piece of the local goat milk soap from this farm. The name of the farm was, let's see, Agritur Piazzina, and it actually is also a B&B. So if you wanted to go there to this farm, they have goats. We did go to the barn and see the goats. She showed us the owner, they do shear the, I don't know if they have sheep too, but the fiber and how they card it and then spin it and everything. It was really, really interesting. It was just a beautiful day in the mountains, is up on the side of a mountain. I mean, it was absolutely amazing. And so half of us did that, and and then other people went on the walk, and then also you could just stay at the hotel and knit. And a lot of people were probably exhausted, so they did do that. After that, we went back to the hotel, had lunch, and then we had our first class with Hohi, which was called Sweaters That Fit, and it was absolutely amazing. I have all these things here. Oh, I forgot to show you. I'm sorry. Let me go back a little bit. Marina, when I met her, I was able to give her Encanto back, but she brought me a little gift, a soap and a little journal. It's actually like a travel journal, travel in the world. So thank you, Marina. Oh, and I forgot to mention one more thing. I thought I was so organized. Marina, I mentioned this in episode 20, but the giveaway will be finished by then. Marina is doing a giveaway, not related to us at all, but I wanted to share it because it's amazing. And they are willing to ship worldwide. Marina works with Mood bags, M-U-U-D. A lot of podcasters are working with them recently, but Marina does, and she has a needle case giveaway going on right now until the end of July. So you only have a couple days. If you want to enter the giveaway, go to her Ravelry page and purchase 1 pattern, and then you're entered in July. You have to do it in July. So, and actually in episode 20, one of her patterns, she was wearing this cute little, like, I don't know, very lightweight cardigan, sleeveless cardigan when I met with her in Italy. And so that's my favorite thing for episode 20. Anyway, so if you want to enter her Mood leather needle case giveaway, go to her Ravelry, and it's Storm Knitting Art, and buy a pattern. Anyway, and I think she said if you buy 2 patterns, you automatically get 15% off your purchase. So back to the topic. So the class with Hohi, the reason I thought of that is because I had other stuff on top of my notebook where I wrote down notes. So Sweaters That Fit was amazing. We had done swatches ahead of time, and we got, Hohi designed 2 patterns for the retreat, a sweater and also a shawl. And I did splurge again and purchase the yarn for both patterns, and you get the patterns for free. And we were supposed to do homework and swatch. And so this is my just gauge swatch. And so from our gauge swatch, during that class, Hohi went around to every single one of us and took at least, I mentioned this in episode 20, 7 of our measurements. Obviously, high bust, full bust, yoke depth, just like tons. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, oh, here it is. Waist, waist to underarm, yoke depth, underarm to maybe that's sleeve, no, I don't even know, wrist, sleeve length. Anyway, I have them all written down. I have to go back and remember what they are. But she herself went around, she didn't have us measure each other. She went around and did it so we would actually get the correct measurements, because of course if you want sweaters that fit, you need to have your correct measurements. And then we checked our gauge swatches, and you know, I was able from that to pick which size to knit for my current project, actually. So I decided, I was actually working on something when I got there that I wanted to finish before I got there, but I didn't. But everybody was casting on the sweater, so I gave in and I cast on, but it was great because I already knew then what size to make from this class. But the biggest thing she talked to us about was waist shaping and also bust darts. So if you can ever take a class, Sweaters That Fit with Hohi, you definitely should. It was amazing. I'm sure you can hear the airplane going overhead. I'll show you the sweater that I'm knitting. She designed a sweater called Solar, or Solare, S-O-L-A-R-E. And I purchased the yarn in the color that the sample was made in, which is oatmeal. There's a whole story beyond, including that also. But I also purchased the shawl because my mom loves shawls, and who knows when I'll knit it, but it's called Sotto il Sole. And I also purchased the suggested colors for that, these 2 colors. And I don't have the tags, so I don't even remember what they were called. So hopefully I can knit that for my mom eventually. And it was just amazing. The class was amazing. I learned so much in that class. And then of course she said, if you have any questions at any point during the retreat, you can, you know, just ask her any questions. So that was lovely. And then of course that night we had dinner at the hotel again. And then after dinner, you know, everybody would just hang out. I mean, in between any free time, we would all just be hanging out, knitting, hanging out, talking. People would bring their knitting to the meals and knit before the food arrived and after, while they were having coffee. And in the little lobby, there's like a little bar area. We were able to just hang out there and knit, and Hohi would hang out with us. It was just absolutely amazing. So then on Tuesday, oh my goodness, the activity was basically foraging for herbs in the Alps with a green Michelin star chef. Yes, this chef, Alessandro Gilmozzi, he has a Michelin star restaurant right there in this tiny town of Cavallese. It's called El Molin, E-L, new word, M-O-L-I-N. And he's famous for sustainability and specifically foraging alpine herbs and using them in his dishes. So he met us. We took these little taxi vans up to the top of the mountain behind Cavallese. And he gave us each an apron. This is my apron. And it has his initials on it, Alessandro Gilmozzi. And he gave us each a pair of scissors. These are my scissors. And we put on our aprons, and he gave baskets out. And our job was to forage. And he walked us along. It was about an hour and a half hike through the pastures, the fields, the forests. And we stopped along the way and just collected, you'll see the pictures at the end, a basket full of a lot of the herbs. And then at the very end of that section, our entire salad, it's just amazing. So we hiked through and we gathered all these things. And when we got to the other side, we arrived at what in the thing said a hut, but it was really like a chalet. And when we walked through the gate and down the steps, and we're on the side of this mountain with this beautiful panoramic view. And there were tables set up with white tablecloths and crystal and silverware, and his Michelin star staff was in this chalet in the kitchen and on the outside kitchen making us lunch and incorporating the herbs that we had foraged. It was incredible. So we just hung out. That was the only lunch we did not eat at the hotel. We hung out, and while they finished cooking, and they eventually put out a big cheese board, meat and cheeses and bread. And then we just had this amazing meal. Actually, I have the menu. So this was with the silverware. Oh, it's upside down. And inside is the menu. And they called it Lunch Wild. And there was, oh my goodness, I can't even, it's all in Italian. But you'll see a salad of the mountains. I think olio e la montagna. So a salad of the mountains. And I can't even remember. You'll see all the pictures. There's 4 pictures of the food. It was amazing. So we ate there. Then you had the option to take the bus down or walk. And it was supposed to be about an hour walk back to the hotel. And we decided to walk back. And so we just walked through all these little tiny villages down the mountain till we got to Cavalese, and that was amazing. And then the knitting activity that afternoon was just basically we all sat and knit together, and mYak and Andrea and Carlotta told the mYak story in great, great detail. So that was amazing to hear that. And then on Wednesday, which was the last full day, there was a hike planned. Everybody, I'm sure you know, if you follow Hohi, she's an avid hiker. And so it was the perfect retreat activity for her and her son, Nano. And we went up to the base of a trail that it was at 2,000 meters or 6,561 feet with where we parked the cars at the base of, not the very, very base, but where we started the trail to go up to Corno Bianco. So basically there's these 2 mountain peaks right across from each other. At 2,000 feet, you can climb up either one. One is Corno Bianco and one is, I forgot the name of it. What's black in Italian? I know it in German. So Weisshorn was the German name of Corno Bianco, and Schwarzhorn was the name of the dark one. And literally the rocks at the top of each mountain, one is white and one is black or dark. So we hiked up Corno Bianco, and Hohi's amazing because she encouraged all of us in the beginning. There are 3 options for the hike. You can do the easy option and kind of just walk flat over to this Gasthaus. Or you can go halfway up and then go down toward the Gasthaus, or you can go all the way up to the top where the cross is up at the top, and then hike all the way down to the Gasthaus. And so my husband and I decided to go on the harder one, and Hohi, though, encouraged everybody that she would stay with the slowest group. And she did. And I was in the slowest group, my husband and I. And she did. She stayed with us all the way. She encouraged us. I have to say, it was steep. It was hard. But it was still walking. It wasn't like climbing rocks or anything. The hardest part was catching your breath because it is a higher altitude than we're used to. So I would just get out of breath and have to stop for that reason. And we went straight up. It was really straight up the mountain. So it was up the whole time. So we mainly, the slow group, just had to stop to catch our breath. But Hohi stayed with us the whole time, and we made it up in the allotted time. And it was just amazing. So you'll see the pictures of that. And then we hiked down to the Gasthaus, and it was a little discouraging because the fast group made it down in time to have lunch. And we made it down in time to literally get a cup of coffee and then walk back to where the car was parked. But it was still lovely and wonderful. So that was amazing. I mean, absolutely just amazing. And probably not something my husband and I would have done if it hadn't been planned in the retreat, because we're kind of lazy. But it was just so amazing. So that was Wednesday. And then Wednesday's class with Hohi, after that, was a class she's creating called Embellishing Cables. Now, there were other ways to embellish the cables, and I removed those so that I could use this swatch to embellish more with embroidery. But it was just really relaxing and amazing, and we just sat there for 3 hours and experimented with all these different ways to embellish cables. So that was amazing also. And then our final dinner, little did we realize, but the pizza place my husband and I went to with Marina and her husband the first night is also owned by the Michelin star chef. So mYak had planned a pizza and beer tasting at that pizza place, pizza restaurant, pizzeria. And we all walked up there for dinner and just had like the most amazing pizzas. And of course, Alessandro was back there making the pizzas with his staff, and he came out and talked to us at the end. And it was just amazing. We're still talking about that pizza. It was crazy. And then of course, Thursday morning, I woke up early so I could say goodbye to everybody that I saw as they were leaving. And it was just sad, but just joyful. It's so nice to meet everybody. And then that was the end of the retreat. But again, I want to say, if you save money, it is expensive. But the price for the retreat is truly, it's worth every penny. Every single activity that you do, every single extra thing that you get to do, all the meals, everything, it was well worth it. So if you can do it, I encourage you to save the money and splurge. If you're going to splurge on one retreat, make it a mYak retreat. Again, I'm not getting paid for this. So then everybody said goodbye. And of course, once a month, our channel, Jonna and I do a Cable 3 member Zoom for our highest tier of membership. So we decided to do one while I was there. So before my husband and I left that day, we did a member Zoom. Jonna was in the States, and I have to say most of the members that joined us were from Europe, because we had to do it, I think, at noon. And so that was like 6 a.m. in the States, and on the West Coast, of course, that would have been 3 a.m. So we got mostly European members, but it was still wonderfully lovely. And Pal popped in a little bit and joined us, so that was nice. Then my husband and I decided to stay a couple extra days because the flights were so expensive, and they were actually cheaper to fly home on Sunday, and the retreat ended on Thursday. So we decided I got an Airbnb on Lake Como, actually in the little town of Lezeno. And the Airbnb was called Nest on the Lake, and it's just heavenly. It's just, everything about it is heavenly. If you want to go to Lake Como, have an affordable place to stay, look up an Airbnb Nest on the Lake. We had an outdoor, it's a studio, little studio apartment right on the water, in a building that's right on the water. Breakfast is served downstairs for a little extra charge, but on that property. A beautiful breakfast is all set up, and you just go down and take whatever you want, coffee and everything. And you're literally sitting on this terrace right on the edge of Lake Como. And then our specific little apartment, it had a little kitchen. It had a Murphy bed that made it a studio. There was a separate bathroom. And then there was an outdoor terrace with this beautiful stone archway. I mean, it was just heavenly. I'll put those pictures at the end too. That was amazing. And we had 2 days in Lake Como. Then we left Saturday to go to, we had 1 full day in Lake Como. Then we went to Milan the night before our flight. There's a hotel right attached to the Milan airport. We returned the rental car, stayed in that hotel, and flew home. But it was lovely. Sorry this is taking so long. Maybe I'll put a timestamp in, and so the people who want to skip all this talking, if they look for a timestamp, they'll find it. But that was it. It was wonderful. And then when I got back, we had planned to film episode 20 in the week or two before this next project I was doing, and before Jonna's next trip. And unfortunately, the very day of our scheduled shoot, I had some personal issues that came up, and I had to cancel. So that's really why we didn't film episode 20 in July. And with all the travels, we just couldn't fit it in, because that weekend I started this Carnegie Hall project that I do. I work in a costume shop for Carnegie Hall, and we fit, alter, and steam and press all of the concert attire for over 200 high school students from the United States who are chosen for this Carnegie Hall, these programs sponsored by Carnegie Hall called National Youth Orchestra. And then there's also, so that's NYO, that's the main orchestra. And then there's NYO2, which is like the junior orchestra. And then there's NYO Jazz. And so we're in a costume shop for 2 weeks straight. Every single high school student comes in and they get fit for custom concert attire. And they get to wear, they each get a free pair of Converse All-Stars. This year, the sneaker of choice was a high-top black Converse All-Star. But anyway, so I did that for 2 weeks. So we could not film then. And in that time, Jonna went to Florida with her family for a vacation. And when NYO was finished, that's when we finally had time to film episode 20. And it will air next Friday, the first Friday in August. In between that, while Jonna was in Florida, a viewer came to visit from Michigan, and her family was coming here for a family wedding, and they were all flying in Saturday night or Friday night. And she said, well, because they were flying into the closest airport to here where I live and Pick Up Every Stitch. She said, well, that's close to Pick Up Every Stitch. I'm going to fly in early and go to Pick Up Every Stitch for the day. So I met Karen Haig at Pick Up Every Stitch, and we went out for lunch. And she brought me a little gift, well, us, Jonna and I, a little gift. And I haven't even taken it out of here yet, because I wanted to show you first. I guess Michigan is famous for cherries. So she brought a whole bunch of little cherry goodies. Thank you so much, Karen. A bunch of little cherry things. And it was just so lovely to hang out with her for the afternoon. And I can't wait to see you again. I hope the wedding went well. And thank you for contacting us. Jonna really wanted to join us, but she had this last minute little Florida vacation come up. And so she went to be with her family. And then Jonna went to Texas because her 6th grandchild was born. You might have seen posts on Instagram. So she's a very happy grandma. She was down there for a week. She was actually in the room while the baby was being born. She talks about that in episode 20. Not in great detail, but in some detail. And then, surprise, surprise, and she talks about this in episode 22. When she flew home, her grandsons always say, Mimi, we wish we could go home with you. And they said it, and their mom said, okay. So I guess they bought last minute plane tickets, and she got to bring her 2 grandsons back to New York. And they hung out for an entire week. And a couple of days later, actually her daughter and her other granddaughter, the sister of the 2 brothers, flew up here as well. Part of it was in Texas. It was over 100 degrees for days and days. And I mean, it was hot here too. But anyway, so Jonna had so much fun with her family. As you can tell, we've been crazy busy. That's why we haven't filmed much at all. Tonight, actually, we're having our July Cable 3 Zoom. And then, as I said, tomorrow I leave for Canada for a week off the grid. We used to go before COVID, but when the Canadian borders closed, we stopped going because we couldn't get across the border, or it was just too much of a hassle. But our friend has a cabin on a lake. You can't drive there. You can only take a boat to the cabin. And so you drive to the little... what's it called, to the little landing, and then he picks you up in his boat and drives you to the cabin. There's only 12 or 13 cabins on the lake, and it's totally off the grid, except for one solar panel if you want to charge your cell phone, and there's a propane fridge and a propane grill. But it's an outhouse, no running water, no shower, but you just swim all day. I mean, it's just the most clear, glorious, beautiful water. So I'll be there for a week off the grid. So trying to squeeze all this in now. Anyway, let me quickly end by telling you about my knitting. Sorry this is so long, but we definitely wanted to catch you up. Oh, one more thing about episode 20. I'm sorry if I'm moving the table and it's shaking. We've been having sound issues recently with our videos. This one I'm filming on my iPhone, but we use a DSLR camera and a shotgun mic, and we've mentioned it, you know, over the last couple shoots. We've had whispering, or we've had air conditioning noises, or we've had dog noises. And this time again, when I went to edit the footage, the background noise, the air conditioning was so loud, I almost thought the video was unusable. But we didn't have time to refilm, so I just kept editing. I tried to turn in iMovie some of the volumes down so it wasn't quite so horrible. So I apologize ahead of time for the, you know, sound issues. We're definitely amateurs. But because of this, I started to really investigate the other settings on the microphone. Because honestly, I love knitting. I don't love technology. I just turn on the camera, turn on the mic, plug it in, and we shoot. But I was wondering, have I somehow accidentally changed a setting on the mic over the last couple months, and that's what's making it more sensitive? Sure enough, that's probably what happened. So hopefully I know how to solve the problem, so episode 21 will not have these sound issues, but I apologize ahead of time for the, just background noise. It's just annoying, and there's whispers. Oh well, it is what it is. Hopefully the content makes it worth it. So let me show you my knitting. I talk about all of this in episode 20, so I'm just going to show you. But I did finish my weekender, which I think you know because we filmed What's in Your Knitting Bag. So my weekender, I tell you all the details in episode 20. I can't even touch it though. It's so hot right now, and it's just really a warm sweater, so I won't be wearing it. I finished my sparkle cardigan. Yay! I did not finish it before Italy. It's a sparkle cardigan designed by Joji Locatelli, and I knit it in mYak Baby Yak lace held double in the color Healing Blue. And it's beautiful, and it fits perfectly, and I love it. And I do wear it in episode 20. So of course you'll hear all about it in episode 20. Love it. Next, and there was a little drama with this recently, I did cast on Joji's one of the sweaters, or the sweater from the retreat, and it's called Solare. And just so you know, she was inspired by the Italian sun. That's why Solare, I think that means sun, or something like that. And then the Sotto il, whatever the shawl was called. Sorry, I can't remember. But Sotto il Sole, I think. But this is the gorgeous sweater. So the drama that came up, I'm not going to show you too much because I talk about it in episode 20, but the yoke is finished. And as I was finishing the yoke and doing part of the body, I suddenly realized I'm going to run out of yarn. Yes. I mean, definitely. So I finished the body, which when we filmed episode 20, it wasn't finished. So I'm giving that away a little bit, but I'm not going to show you now. And I started one of the sleeves, and I knew I was going to run out of yarn by this time. It's Baby Yak medium in the color oatmeal. And I remember them talking on the retreat about the fact that the oatmeal is a natural color. There is a dye lot, but that's just represents that season's wool that they made into this natural color. There's not a lot of this light color on yaks, so it's a limited amount. So once they sell out of that color, this natural color, they don't have any more that season. Not until next year, the next shearing and the next yarn production year. And so, of course, with this pattern being released and the sample being in oatmeal, it sold out really fast. So I got what was recommended, the 8 balls of yarn to make my sweater in the size I was going to make. And I just realized I had made 2 swatches, right? I realized I was going to run out. Now, yes, I could have ripped the swatches out, but I really didn't want to. So what I started doing when I was doing the first sleeve is I would weigh my leftover yarn between every single row. The leftover yarn I had available, not in a swatch, was 58 grams. And so in between every single row I weighed, and I got down to 29 grams for that sleeve, and I put that on hold, and I was going to start the next sleeve and knit that to 29 grams, the rest of the yarn, and then try to find more yarn. If it was a different dye lot, a different year, it would just look different. I mean, that's all I could do. I contacted Pala, I contacted Pick Up Every Stitch, I posted on Instagram. A lot of people said, I have it, but it's the wrong dye lot. So I would have had options if I needed to use another dye lot. But I definitely was scrambling, and Pala did suggest contacting Wool & Company, and it was a Sunday when I realized this, so I sent them an email, but I knew it was Sunday. I wouldn't answer my email on Sunday. So I was hoping on Monday they would answer. And so one thing I did do, Brooklyn General carries mYak, and Pala suggested going there. And so I did go there, and it turns out they didn't have the exact yarn I needed, the weight in oatmeal. But Catherine, the owner, she wasn't there when I walked in, but she happened to walk in, and she said, oh, we have baby yak lace in. We looked at the dye lot, and the dye lot I needed was 102303, and the dye lot of the baby yak lace was 1023. There's wind. 102302. So the other dye lots people shared were completely different. So I was assuming that because they're both 1023 and just the last number is different, that both of these came from the same year, but some was made into lace and some was made into medium. So Catherine, I bought 3 hanks, and when we unwound baby yak medium, there's 3 strands. So we assumed that 3 strands might be the correct weight, and I could just knit the rest of the sleeves in that. So what I did when I got home, since I had a solution that would be workable, I ended up finishing the first sleeve. And when I finished the first sleeve, this is how much yarn I had left. That's it. But in the meantime, one of our viewers, Rachel, who we met a few months ago, she messaged me on Instagram, hey, I'm placing a Wool & Company order, and I noticed they have that exact yarn. What's the dye lot? So I told her, and she, the next morning, I couldn't stop thinking about it all night. I wonder if she's going to find this yarn. Sure enough, the next morning she messaged me that they had my exact dye lot in stock. So she ordered me 2 hanks and had it shipped to my house, and I already got it. And this is it. And she had it wound for me too. So thank you so much, Rachel. I mean, I can't even believe you did this for me. It's so, so, so sweet. And thank you to all the other people around the world, especially in the United States, who offered up their stash in a different dye lot. It was just, social media can be really stressful and annoying and not a positive place in many instances, but in this instance, it was a lifesaver for me. So Rachel, thank you so much for placing that order for me, and now I can take this with me up to Canada and maybe finish the other sleeve now that I have yarn. I'm so, so, so grateful. So in the meantime, one issue, as I don't know if you're a new viewer, you might not know, I'm a monogamous knitter. Every once in a while I have multiple projects, but I prefer not to. So in the meantime, I had to swatch something else, or I had already swatched something else because I need to get ready for my next project. If I wait until after my current project, then I'm just doing a boring swatch. So I swatched ahead of time, and this is the swatch. And I'm not going to tell you what I'm making because you'll find out in episode 20. This is the yarn, Laine du Nord Echo Baby, in the color 10. It's pink, if you can't tell. I also bought some in green because I'm going to make 2 of the same thing in different colors. And I got it sometime earlier this year when I was at North Fork Fiber Arts out on the North Fork of Long Island. And I love that little shop. And they had recently done a rebranding, a remodel and a rebranding, and it gave it a new name, and it's just a sweet little shop. So if you're ever out there, definitely stop by. But I can't wait to finish these projects. They'll be quick. Maybe you can guess what they are. Pink baby yarn. Maybe you can guess. Anyway, so I did cast that on as well, but I'm not gonna, well, I was waiting for the mYak medium oatmeal to show up, but I'm not gonna show you that now either. Sorry. I gotta keep some secrets for later. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this really long video without Jonna. I know we're just not quite the same without each other, but we're really grateful for you watching, and yeah, we'll see you in August.